Welcome to the Lawson and Gift podcast. Make sure to hit that like button, share the videos, subscribe. We're on to week 6 Vegas spread picks.
Yeah, Gift, we're one day late. Last week we had one for you to bet. We were begging you to bet it. We had people arguing with us in the comment sections. The Minnesota game. I don't know if there's anyone as easy as that, but I have some I really like.
So let's start with the Thursday night game, Giants at New England. And we got that at a 17-point spread.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley's not playing, right?
So far, he's not playing.
Yeah, and this one is one I'd stay the hell away from, like chlamydia, Gift. But give me New England to win in the cover. I'm going to take them to go over the points. Even though I really like the way Daniel Jones is performing. Like last week, only 10 points against the Vikings, but I felt like he made some really good passes. They had no run game. I don't see them having a run game this week without Saquon Barkley, so it's too much of an uphill battle. But please don't bet this one. My goodness.
Yeah, this is it's just too many points for me.
It is.
And I have the Giants to cover, New England to win. If Saquon plays, I would feel a lot more comfortable with it, but it's just too many points for me.
That's what I'm saying. For a Thursday night game, they're always the most unpredictable things, even though we were able to get some people money picks on Thursday night this year.
Yeah.
Gift. It's not safe. And then even 14 felt like a bit too much for me. And everyone knows I like to lean towards taking the points. And the Giants, at least they can play competitively. And New England doesn't have Antonio Brown or Rob Gronkowski for that matter. So they always have a little bit of problem with stagnation, even though Tom Brady's still playing really well.
Yeah, and I hate to, say like it's a flip of a coin, but I think there's going to be a lot of games this week that are going to feel like that, where it could go either way.
Well,
and this is one of them. Like, we know New England's going to win, but, they can blow out the Giants easily, but they could also beat them within 10 or 12 points. So with that, let's move on to Carolina -2 at Tampa. And like I said, this feels like a coin flip to me.
It's a really tough game, and I agree with Vegas having Carolina maybe the 5-point better team, even after what transpired earlier. But give me Tampa Bay to win in the cover. And listen, man, if you tell me Christian McCaffrey's going to go off for another 80-yard run, then fine. I guess that's possible. But I don't know if I see that happening again. And Christian McCaffrey's damn good, Gift. He's pretty much great. But I am starting to get a little bit annoyed about the MVP talk. Like, listen, man, eventually he's going to fade out. We saw what Tampa Bay did to him. I mean, Carolina doesn't have a great offensive line. They don't have a great passing attack. I mean, this isn't going to continue. I'm not saying he's not very good, but eventually this stagnates. And then Carolina, man, letting Gardner Minshew throw all over the park on you is a problem. I don't care if you won. You're not getting 34 at Tampa. Tampa wins this game, Gift. Wins and covers.
Yeah, I got Tampa to win and cover as well, too. And I look back to their earlier meeting, and I look at the fact that Tampa did stop McCaffrey to some degree. So if they're able to do that and actually do the obvious thing to beat Carolina, which I think that's the part that's irritating us, is that teams are just neglecting to stop McCaffrey. It's the one thing, we know he's good, but when he gets these big plays, there's nobody around him.
80 yards untouched. Like, come on now. Like, listen, I give him credit. I know they keep throwing out the next-gen stats. He was the fastest person running. The Matt Breida. Like, well, you really think Christian McCaffrey's faster than Dalvin Cook? Stop. Like, the reason why other guys haven't reached top speed is because they're running through people, breaking tackles, and he goes unclean for 80 yards because I don't know what the Jags were doing. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I do think this talk is a little bit much. But yeah, man, I've been wrong on the last few Carolina games, but I haven't told anyone to bet them or been sure on them. And they're honestly coin flips at a certain point. Although I feel like this one is maybe a little bit more than that in terms of Tampa Bay's favor. But Bruce Arians and Jameis Winston aren't people you want to put your hard-earned money on.
No. And I'm getting a bit sick of the stats, too. Dak Prescott's top 10 in passing yards. What does that mean? It means absolutely nothing. So, I'm sick of seeing
you could put up
too.
200 against Miami. Jesus.
They're pretty bad. And with that, let's move to Cincinnati at Baltimore. We got Cincinnati plus 11.5.
Baltimore wins. Cincinnati covers. This is one I was going back and forth with all week. Man, against Cincinnati's defense, like you said, that has decayed, you think, well, maybe Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown over the top. It's possible. But Lamar Jackson hasn't been playing well. I think that's one takeaway from this, so I'm going cover. But Zach Taylor might not know what the hell he's doing at this point.
I got the same thing in this game, and I guess this will just tell us how really bad Cincinnati is, where they're at as a team. We know that they're not a very good team, but are they, bottom of the barrel, third worst team in the league? I don't know. We're going to find that out. But 11 points to me is just too much. 11 and a half. I mean, I got to take Cincy. And Baltimore, to me, has been underwhelming. So I got to go with the points in that game. I actually feel good with the points. And with that, we'll move to Seattle minus 1.5 at Cleveland.
Maybe I'm the only one in the world, but I haven't been impressed with Seattle's performance this year. I mean, I know it's easy to beat up on the Browns. I mean, against the 49ers, it was pathetic. Thank you for that fan who was trying to talk me out of betting them. I didn't on Monday night. Thank you for that. But, man, I'm really everyone's glossing over Seattle's performances. They're glossing over every performances and acting like they're great. Really, the best performance of the year was at home against the Rams, and they came up short that game. I think they come up short this game on the road. Give me Cleveland the win and cover. I don't know how the hell they're going to do it. It's not something you can trust. Jadeveon Clowney matched up against Greg Robinson is going to be something that is... Baker's going to be, you know how he always floats to his right? Because he got Greg Robinson blocking to that left side. So when you look at this, Giff, it's just Cleveland winning on the last possession. I'm not saying it's a money pick or anything. I'm just semi-sure about this because the Seattle team isn't as good as advertised. Russell Wilson is as good as advertised. I think he should be the NFL MVP and not Christian McCaffrey. But with that being said, give me Cleveland.
I have to go Seattle in this game to win and cover. And that performance Monday night was horrendous by Cleveland. And I think Freddie Kitchens is a terrible play caller. I think that's part of it. And Baker, too. He, forcing passes.
Yeah, but,
and to me, if they beat Seattle, that means that they're going to be getting this thing back on the right track. And right now, Seattle, while I haven't been overly impressed with them, they know what they're doing. I don't think Cleveland does.
You think this Cleveland thing is going to fall off the rails while playing in the AFC North after they already destroyed the Baltimore Ravens?
Well, I haven't been impressed with the Ravens at all.
Same here, but someone's got to win. I mean, damn, Giff, it's going to be like the year Seattle got it with seven wins.
I just don't think Cleveland has... they're just off the tracks to me. That Monday night game, I think that proved it.
But you can't let it get off the tracks. You have to say, we're in the AFC North. We've destroyed Baltimore. Baltimore's probably the best team in this division. That means this can't go off the tracks. People need to maintain positive attitude. We've been talking about how we really like San Fran in all of these games. I didn't expect Joey Bosa to take over that game. I wasn't expecting that. But you're right, the big concern about Cleveland right now is Freddie Kitchens' play-calling ability, if we really had to get down to it. And Odell Beckham's kind of pathetic, though.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to talk about Baker Mayfield, but come on, let's go back to this game a little bit. Okay, they allow Matt Breida to go untouched, and we were worried about Shanahan's run game, although Cleveland's been pretty decent in the front seven. So Matt Breida goes untouched, you're down 7-0, other bad things happen. Okay, but Baker brings him down the field, throws a really good pass to Antonio Callaway, and it hits his hands, and then it would have been a touchdown. Instead, it was an interception, returned big time for field position. And then Odell Beckham, I remember in one of the first drives, Baker threw a 30-yard pass to him, was a bit high, hits his hands and drops off, then later fumbles a punt. Giff, this might be the reason why it's going off the rails, but you can't let it go off the rails. You got to run it against Seattle, play action. Don't let Baker throw it more than 30 times. You win. If
they do that, I'll agree. Now, will they do that is the question. I'm not saying that the 49ers aren't a decent football team. I'm not sold on the undefeated 49ers yet.
You should not be, because look at who they've played.
And I'm just saying, if Cleveland can't get their offense going against that defense, I'm not seeing how they're going to be able to do it going forward. But I think this game will tell a lot, definitely, from what we just talked about. So with that, we'll move on to Houston +5 at Kansas City.
Kansas City wins and covers. Everyone's getting really excited about Houston this week. Listen, we knew they had firepower. We knew Deshaun Watson could push it. But we need to calm down about Houston this week because I know you're seeing the stuff too.
Yeah.
Kansas City wins and covers. This is a little bit ridiculous.
I had to catch myself on this game because I almost went Houston, but then when I started to think about it, I was like, no, Kansas City wins and covers. Kansas City's at home. I think they'll have the crowd on their back. The defense, I think, for Kansas City will probably be the difference in this game. Frank Clark, Chris Jones up front. I think they wreak some havoc.
Yeah, who's going to block? I mean, I know they were able to block Atlanta, but Atlanta hasn't gotten pressure on anyone.
Exactly. And we know Houston can't run the ball, and we know they can throw it, but I don't think that Watson's going to be able to stand back there all day in Kansas City. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, and Kansas City, man, that's not going to happen. That's a fluke. I'm worried about Patty Mahomes' ankle a little bit, but I think that's why this is -5. And anyone who wants to bet Houston in this game, because I know the points are tempting, but just go back and watch some of the other performances, and then if you think this Atlanta thing is who they are, then go ahead with it. But that's really not who they are. They're a really average team who can eke out 8-9 wins and maybe win this division.
Yeah, and if you were telling me also that Houston was going to be getting good protection the whole game, then I'd be like, all right. It's different
and changes.
So with that, let's move on to another tough one, New Orleans +1 at Jacksonville.
Eventually Jacksonville, you would think there's a response. I wish I had more to offer in this game, but I don't know what the hell is going to happen. Give me a winning cover for Jacksonville, but Teddy's been getting in rhythm the last 2 weeks, so this is dangerous, and I don't know if this Jacksonville defense really is galvanized enough to carry it to another playoff place like it should have been. And the Minshew stuff, I don't know if that gets. I don't know if this dude is all that good. I know he put up the numbers last week against Carolina, but that secondary is really, really bad. Yeah. So that's one reason why I'm worried about this game. I'm going Jacksonville as of right now, but things can quickly change this week.
For me, in a game like this, with how close I think it's going to be, I have New Orleans to win and cover right now, but if Jalen Ramsey plays, I'm going Jacksonville to win and to cover because that's just too big of a loss. If you're Jacksonville on the defensive
side. It's the
side.
best corner in the league, so I don't think you're over-exaggerating. Sometimes losses don't matter, but if it's the best someone in the league, it matters.
He's practicing today. We'll see if he plays, because that's where I'm at with this game right now. You put him in the game, he takes away Michael Thomas.
He does.
And Bridgewater can't throw it down the field as it is. There'll be nowhere for them to go with the football if Ramsey plays, I feel.
Michael Thomas is one of those guys Jalen Ramsey can take completely out. I think you can bank on it, even though Michael Thomas is an absolute beast. The guys, in my opinion, Jalen Ramsey has a hard time with. Like, I've seen Jalen Ramsey do great against Julio. The guys he has problems with are the little guys like Antonio Brown, T.Y. Hilton. But Michael Thomas is going to try to use power against him. It's not going to work.
And with that, let's move to Philly +3 at Minnesota.
I'm going Minnesota to win in the cover. I was talking with one of our fans last night on Instagram, and I wanted to say that he wanted to bet Philadelphia. I just said that this is like betting a coin flip. It seems like we keep going back to coin flips.
Yeah.
I mean, let me tell you what. Okay, first of all, Philadelphia is going on the road. Now, secondly, this isn't like Tampa Bay's home field advantage. I mean, this isn't like the Chargers home field advantage where there's like 10,000 people out there in that little 20K stadium. It's actually a top 3-4 home field advantage in this league. Now, you come in, Eagles are injured. Eagles have a lot of people banged up. Vikings are really, really healthy as of right now.
Yeah.
And you look at Kirk Cousins, and I know Kirk Cousins is the problem here. And I know that's why people want to pick Philly this game. But Philly can't run the rock, and if you expect Carson to sit back there with sore ribs, throw it 40, 50 times on the road, and be able to come in here with a victory, then you're a little bit delusional because that's not really his game right now. Give me Minnesota to win in the cover. This comes down to a last possession, and I think what Minnesota does is we always say the key to controlling a game with the Philadelphia Eagles is you got to coach well, which I don't trust Mike Zimmer to outcoach Pedersen. But the second thing, which I think is going to be the reigning factor, is Philadelphia's front is kind of small, man, and you got to pound it at them. And then Jim Schwartz can't be aggressive with you on 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, and that's where you get in trouble against them. Vikings win and cover.
I got the Eagles to win and cover in this game, and Yeah, it comes down to, are they going to be able to stop Dalvin Cook? And that's really what it is for me in this game. If they do, then I expect what happens in Minnesota, Kirk Cousins turning the football over. I don't know what other way to put it. And I do defense. I'm a little bit worried about their secondary being a little banged up. But I think that they're able to get it done. I think the coaching is going to be a part in this. As we've been mentioning week in and week out, Carson Wentz is playing at a really high level right now.
He's really good. I mean, but Gift, didn't he only have like 180 pass yards last week? I mean, this Minnesota Vikings defense, even though the first half of some of these games has been pathetic, Gift, they're eventually going to shut down on him, and there's going to be a risk of turnovers if they can't run the rock. And there's no chance in hell the Eagles run the rock against the Vikings front as the way it's currently presented. If Daniel Hunter and Everson Griffin and Linval Joseph are injured, sure, it's going to be a field day, but they're healthy. And just the second thing about Kirk Cousins, I know he's bad. It's just because you do worry. Because when Jim Schwartz gets in situations, like he's been sending a lot of blitzes this year. I doubt there's a team that blitzes more than the Eagles, so that worries me because he'll get uptight and make Kirk Cousins play.
And I know you mentioned it already, but Zimmer, man, in a game like this, when it comes down to coaching, I mean, are we going to see Anthony Barr on receivers and things like that? I'm just
I know. I know, Giff, every time he faces an elite, very good coach, he completely just fades.
So, but I will say I'm looking forward to that game, though. That should be an interesting game. And with that, let's move on to the Tank Bowl.
Yeah.
Washington -3.5 at Miami.
Yeah, Washington wins and covers. Not a lot of science. I mean, how can you have science in a game like this? And if someone dare heckles me for missing this game next week, then you should just go out and just get it over with for yourself. Seriously, you should go old yeller yourself. Gift, because really, if you bet on this game, like, I know why Washington's tempting. I really know why. But you can't bet on this, right?
Two of the worst teams in football.
Yeah.
You don't want to bet on that. But I do have Washington to win and to cover as well because Washington is the better team. They have more talent. I think, we'll see who starts at quarterback for Washington this week. I hope it's Case Keenum. And if it's Case Keenum, I feel pretty good that Washington will win and cover this game.
If it's Case Keenum, I get it's tempting to put down a bet, right? I know it is. It's just you got to stay away from it because both of these teams are pathetic. There's nothing you can really just say, oh, I feel good about this. Like, Case Keenum can throw INTs like crazy. And so there's really nothing I feel good about, even though I like Case Keenum overall.
Yeah, and I wouldn't bet it either because both these teams are bad for different reasons. Miami's bad because they're literally tanking and traded away everything, where Washington is having internal issues. And that does translate to on the field and how players mentally are prepared for games. So I wouldn't touch this game. And with that, let's move on to San Fran +3.5 at the Rams.
Rams win and cover, making a money pick. And Giff, and I told you guys to pick the Rams to cover, and I know I only won by half a point, but it wasn't easy. It was easy. The Rams were the better team against the Seahawks. I don't really care what you guys say. Sometimes in football, crazy things happen, and the Rams are the better team than the San Francisco 49ers. And Shanahan's a really great coach. We've been saying it for 4 years. I mean, you can go back to the old podcast. We've been saying it for a long time. But Sean McVay is just going to completely manhandle this game. And the 49ers secondary is vulnerable. I mean, if Joey Bosa is hitting Jared Goff every play, then of course Richard Sherman and Akello Witherspoon are going to look good. But let's take a step back and see when Joey Bosa goes up against Andrew Whitworth, and we'll see what happens then. And it's going to be Rams by 10.
Yeah, I got the Rams to win and cover as well. And like you said, I would be shocked if McVay doesn't put up points on this defense. You got too many weapons offensively if you're the Rams, and they're not going to be able to handle Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks. I don't think the 49ers have a corner that can stop Brandon Cooks in a game like this.
Yeah, and then you don't have the dudes to exploit the weakness right now on the Rams, which for me is their corners right now, because neither of them are playing good, but we know both of them can emerge, and Wade Phillips will eventually fix it, but neither are really playing good football right now. They're just not locating the ball in the air, among many things we could say. So, yeah, I get cautious about this for sure.
But also, how long is that going to last? Because eventually this defense is going to start to click. You know,
Yeah.
everybody's healthy, and
They're getting a good pass rush, Giff. Like,
Yeah.
And if you get a good pass rush in this league, things are going to work itself out on defense. No matter, you can have me and you back there. If you got a good pass rush, things will work themselves out.
And remember, they went through this spell last year where they had some issues, but what happened come the end of the season, playoff time, they clamped down and that defense played at a high level.
Yeah, I guess just make sure Aaron Donald and Michael Brockers are playing discipline. Don't have them I know I love having my interior D linemen shoot gaps, try to get penetration. But this game, they got to just stay home, play run, and then let Clay Matthews, and I'm blanking out, let Fowler and Clay Matthews really try to be the aggressive ones because their linebackers are going to need the support against this run game because you know it's coming.
Yeah, and I really don't. One of the things that I saw Wade Phillips do that I didn't really like, I don't know what your opinion is on it, but he put Aaron Donald at the defensive end position. I mean, he's really good, so I guess it's not that big of a deal, but I kind of like him in the middle.
Yeah, because I understand putting him 5 technique. I absolutely love 5 technique. But I have seen him on the edge this year. And they did that with Adama Sue last year where they do a lot of stunts and then Aaron Donald pushing to the edge. I like that. It's just you don't have Adama Sue this year. So just let Clay Matthews and Fowler be on the edges. That's the only thing they can do. So, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
And one thing that is going to hurt their defense, so I'm glad you brought up Clay Matthews because he's out with a broken jaw for a month.
Yeah, that's not good.
He really wasn't having that big of an impact anyway.
But it's enough of an impact.
Yeah, it's good to have him out there rushing the passer, definitely. So with that, let's move on to a possible money pick. I think we'll definitely be thinking about this as the week goes on. We have Dallas -7 at the Jets. It can even, some spreads are at 7.5 too.
Yeah. Gaff,
Sammy Darnold back.
And I'm thinking about going the Jets to win this, but I'm not going to bet that, so I won't really tell you guys to. I'm going to go Dallas to win Jets to cover. I'm pretty sure about it. Doesn't there have to be a response? I mean, I'm kind of happy to see Adam Gase fail, but then again, he's not this bad. And this defense of the Jets isn't this bad, and you're not going to see Sammy Darnold throwing an interception for 6 points on 4th and 1 like the Eagles got last week. I really like the Jets this game. And man, whenever there's resistance against Dak Prescott, he really can't do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm just surprised I had to deal with some of the heckling after Miami games. Like, people were taking that seriously.
I have the Jets to win and cover in this game. I'm digging in this.
Yeah, I wonder what the money line is on Jets to win. I'm sure it's like plus 280, plus 320. That's a lot. It can add up quick.
I think this is going to be the one upset this week. I really like Greg Williams at home with that defense against a Dallas team where we know they can't really throw the ball. So I think the Jets are equipped to stop the run. I think they can do that. And then with Sam Darnold back, especially with that 7-point spread, I mean, give me that.
And it's kind of like the Jaguars pick. I mean, doesn't there have to be a response from the Jets eventually? Like, where's the response? Like, when we got an Atlanta game coming up, like, I can't count on them for a response, but you would think there's some sort of response coming because no competitive alpha male wants to be smacked around every week and get did by 30 points. Like, who the hell wants that in their life?
And I don't think the Jets are going to come out here offensively right out of the gate and play great, but I do have faith in this defense and how it's coached and that they're going to keep getting that ball back to the offense. And eventually, Darnold, we know that he's good. Le'Veon Bell, we know that he's good. Eventually, I think they're going to put up some points in this game. So with that, we'll move to Atlanta -2.5 at Arizona.
Yeah, Atlanta win and cover. But this is no money pick for me after what Atlanta has pulled this year. There's just at least Cliff Kingsbury has his dudes playing hard. I don't know if that's the same for Atlanta. We can talk about how bad the secondary is. We can talk about the play calling, but it just looks like they're not playing hard and they can't get to the passer, and that's a concern. Like, not being able to get pressure on Deshaun Watson last week when you're going against a Texans O-line that is vulnerable to the 10th degree. can't bet on this, but I'm really sure Atlanta wins, but you can't bet on it.
Well, for what it's worth, this is the first time this season that I'm going with Atlanta to win and to cover. I think if they can't pull this out, then, I mean, it's already done, I feel like, their season, because they haven't been able to compete at all. But if they can't go to Arizona and beat one of the lower tier teams, then Dan Quinn needs to be gone effective immediately. We already did a video on that 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, you could have maybe saved the season, and someone wrote a snatty comment, you can't save this season. Well, no, if you did it at that time, you could have put Dirk Cutter in there, did a few other tweaks with the staff, and had energy going into last week. Giff, this man shouldn't have even gotten to Tennessee, and we tried to make sure everyone knew that. But it is what it is. Atlanta is where they are for a lot of reasons, and Dan Quinn is probably the biggest.
And I'll just add on this note, too, with this game, I would think that it would be easy for Atlanta to score some points. I can't see Arizona's defense being able to handle Sanu, Ridley, and Jones.
No.
I can't see that. So with that, let's move on to Tennessee plus 2.5 at Denver.
Oh, Denver wins and covers. But Tennessee's really, really inconsistent. And Denver has been a cover for us all year. I mean, we know they're bad. We predicted they were bad, but we've been knowing that they're going to cover a lot this year. Really, I think the only week they didn't cover, I didn't look the stat up on myself, but off the top of my head, it was week 1 against the Raiders. But that spread was really, really minute. Denver wins this, though. And they got energy. They got weapons on offense. They got a decent run game. But Tennessee can't even kick a field goal. And before we talk about Mariota's performance, everyone's focusing on Cairo Santos this week. You got to score, and do you count Tennessee in for more than 10, 13 points? Broncos will put up 20.
Well, I'm not. This is one of those ones where I feel like it's a coin flip because the Broncos in that Chargers game, I felt really good that they were going to cover last week, and they did. But they also did everything in the world to try to hand it back to the Chargers. And I like the Tennessee defense too much in a game like this. I think they're able to get it done. I think that they'll be able to run the ball as the game goes on as well. But this is really, like I said, really just about the defense for me in this game. So I'm rolling with Tennessee to win and to cover. And with that, we'll move on to Pittsburgh plus 6.5 at the Chargers. Same point spread for the Chargers as last week.
This is difficult, but Mason Rudolph's doubtful. So you got to go Chargers here. I mean, Giff, you got to go Chargers, right? Even though if Mason Rudolph was playing, this would be like a slam dunk alley-oop for Pittsburgh to cover, given the way Tomlin has that defense balling and buzzing around. But give me the Chargers. Giff, come on, man, a third-string quarterback, you can't really mess with that. I bet you picked Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's because the Chargers are just imploding, and Rivers is the main focal point of that implosion. So I got the Steelers to cover, Chargers to win, but it's because of what you just mentioned, Tomlin and that defense. If the Chargers are going to hurt themselves offensively and give up field position and turn the football over, then I can't go with
Pittsburgh had Ryan Fitzpatrick, they'd win this game by like 7 points. I mean, Pittsburgh, they got to make a decision are we punting on the season? Because, listen, this concussion for Mason Rudolph is like Luke Kuechly type concussion level.
It was bad.
It was bad. He's not walking through that door next week either, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, we saw, they had to unscrew his helmet. He walked off and didn't know where it was. And, it was ugly.
It was. But, Chargers fundamentally, you want to pick Pittsburgh this game, but third-string quarterback's way too much, man. Way too much.
But, I can't disagree with that. And with that, we'll wrap it up with Detroit plus 4.5 at Green Bay. How good is Detroit?
Not too good. I believe that. And this is actually a really good game. And I'm going to go Green Bay to win in the cover because I am counting on this Detroit burst to run out. But I do think it's going to be a close game, so this is one I wouldn't have a lock on. But on the money line, if you're telling me who's going to win this game, Green Bay for sure. Green Bay's going to do enough, and Detroit can't make Green Bay uncomfortable. I think if Devontae Adams is back, this is slam dunk. For me.
It's tough because Detroit, for me, has been hard to gauge this season. They played well in games that I didn't think they would play well in. The Philly game sticks out in my mind of how well they played there. So they have played good on the road. I have Detroit to cover, Green Bay to win. I think if Detroit can get the ground game going a little bit, that'll definitely help in a game like this to complement how good Stafford's been playing. I think that's been the biggest surprise is the passing game for Detroit being good so far. Green Bay, I don't know. I haven't been that thrilled with the offense.
I haven't been that thrilled either. But I do, and Jeff, can we just say something about one of the national stories? Can we just say that Green Bay running it was kind of like a mirage against the Cowboys? Like, guys, do you guys really think this is like going to be a week-to-week thing? I mean, me and you like Green Bay better than other people this year. I picked them to win the division hands down. Like, I knew they were going to win this division. But come on, I'm not delusional enough to start thinking they're going to be pounding teams with Aaron Jones. For fuck's sake.
No, I mean, how tired was that Dallas defense? Because thank you to Dak Prescott.
Really tired.
Flash in the pan from Aaron Jones. I mean, I'm not saying he's terrible, but they're not going to be able to have that as a staple of their offense.
And that Packers defense can cover people. We've been trying to pound our hands on the table and tell you that they got 3-4 dudes back there who can literally cover you. And Patton will be able to generate pressure. He's just one of those coaches. He doesn't need a top 5 defensive end. He can make Zadarius Smith look like steak instead of like bologna like he is. Like, he can get pressure with anyone. And if he has dudes who can cover back there, that's why I just like Green Bay this game, because I think it's going to be a little bit different for Detroit. I mean, if Detroit can run the ball against Green Bay, then then this might change. But Green Bay's got to come in with the same defensive game plan as last week. Stack that box. Let your young dudes in the secondary go one-on-one and see what happens. I think you'll win.
All right, and with that, Week 6 is in the books. Make sure to hit that like button, share the videos, and subscribe.